Hey everyone, GamerJlee here, and welcome back to another video. And this is a video that for the past 30 minutes or so, I have been bouncing around in my head and I've been indecisive if I wanted to make it or not. I've been kind of going back and forth because one of the things that I pride myself on is not going off of rumor, speculation, and so on and so forth. It's not my catch. I don't like to spread misinformation. But with the news that came less than 48 hours ago, I think it's kind of time to maybe talk about this. Now, I want to say this before we get into this video, and with me, I have Hazop. He's going to be my interpreter and my, kind of hearsay as to what's going on with this. But we got this information early on yesterday, but no one was really talking about it. No one was really wanting to, put their hat down and say, yes, this is verified and whatnot. But supposedly a Halo Infinite dev has spoken out about the no co-op and Forge situation. And this is kind of their take on the development troubles that 343 has gone through for the past year and a half. Now, again, this was a Reddit post from a non-verified source that said that they had some way to verify it, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but this is unverified. This could be someone taking the information of the leaks that we've had over the past few weeks and turning it into a story and spinning it as a good PR thing for Halo. You don't know. I can't verify this. No one who I know could verify this. And unless some dev comes out and bluntly says, yes, this is verified, this is true, that's going to cost them their job. So the thing is this is all speculation. This is all rumor. This cannot be verified. So if you don't want to hear about this, I totally understand. Go ahead, click off. It's not going to break my heart. Also, if you don't want to hear about possible, rumors and spoilers for Halo Infinite, I would recommend clicking off as well, because this could lead into some spoiler territory for multiplayer, as well as some upcoming features that might be revealed, and no story aspects from what I can tell. But again, I don't want to take any chances. So again, if you don't want any, chances of being spoiled, click off now. So what we're going to do, Hazop is going to read through this. We're going to, discuss it where we feel like it's necessary, and we're going to just do it to the best of our abilities. Let's take it away, buddy.
And to reiterate one more time, viewer discretion is advised.
Put up that big flashing, warning, last chance, on the screen, comrade. Like, really get that across to people that this is their last chance. Click off now. Don't forget to drop a like and, leave a comment, but still click off now if you don't want to be spoiled. But go ahead and get us started, Hazzy.
Quote, obvious throwaway account. I'm not going to say my name, but I've worked in 343 Industries for the better part of 2 years, specifically on the campaign components of Halo Infinite. I mostly worked on scripting. If you know anything about this project and you want to verify it, this should help. Quote, Sparrow, James, Lucky Break.
Okay.
End quote within quote.
Yes. Now, this is the thing that they said could be verified. Now, I don't know anyone who could verify this. I don't know if this is real. This could just be bullshit memery. Who knows? I don't know what Sparrow James Lucky Break means. Hazop doesn't know what Sparrow James Lucky Break means. I don't think anyone besides either people in the biz or in 343 know what that means, or maybe ex-employees that might be willing to open their mouth. But again, highly doubt it. This is where, there is some credibility if it is verified. But again, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, like not even a grain of salt, like a teaspoon of salt in my mouth. But let's continue on with the next paragraph.
A lot of people are frustrated with the announcement, so I thought I'd shed some light on it. Because we are insanely frustrated internally too. Not because the delay happened, not at all, but because we wanted to tell you earlier. The team has been pushing delays, not just delays to Forge and co-op, but campaign in general. I can see multiplayer making release date in a great state, with basically all of the different variants, or all the main modes, plus a couple grab bag goodies, including some original stuff we're cooking up, a different variant of Infection with original resources, and a severely updated invasion mode with new maps. However, the campaign is under some massive strain.
Now, this is where there is some ways that this can be true and this could not be true. Now, we have heard the leaks. We've seen some of the leaks. If you're a viewer who has watched some of the leaked content, we do know that there is a remake of the map Countdown from Halo Reach. It's basically like a spiritual successor in a way. Now, I saw this earlier today through one of my buddies who had a way to check out the map, and there were some flood-like assets that were spread around, and we were able to check out some of the maps that we played during the flight that also showed some of these objective style infection assets. So there could be some truth behind this, but at the same time, this could be someone taking this information and spinning it to a different narrative. Now, we're gonna have to just wait and see, but hearing that this people wanted to, say this sooner makes me quite frustrated. But at the same time, again, it could have been a decision of wait until the last minute where we know that we won't be able to get this at launch. So what's your kind of take on that, or do you think that we need to keep reading a little bit more?
I think that's a fairly reasonable position on it, honestly. The case that it is not, all well and good in there is pretty much what we've been thinking, right?
Yeah, that's what like anyone has been thinking. There's been nothing but talks of development hell, people feeling like they are not able to be honest as a dev. Like that's what the rumor has been, is that devs aren't able to speak out. They're kind of like duct taped and they can't say, what's really going on. And, there were parts of the video where they announced that Forge and co-op campaign won't be in the game, where we said that it seemed like they were trying to explain that they tried, like it was the stakeholders. They used the word stakeholder in their little thing. They also mentioned how they considered delaying the game, but unfortunately that's not an option. Again, it seems like there might be some wording and some phrasing in there that if you like go big brain on it and really think about it, could be taken out as this isn't just 343. This is also a major problem with Microsoft and how they're pushing us. But yeah, go ahead.
I'll be blunt. We knew Chris was leaving a good while before it happened, and the campaign component has aggressively course corrected in his absence. There were small changes to the multiplayer too under Joseph, but MP was more Pierre's baby than anything. And all that happened there were small changes to the direction of gun balance and general gameplay. But the campaign, that went through a massive overhaul. And not just in the writing, which got trimmed down in fat severely, less is more, and, quote, the player should always understand what the fuck is going on, end quote, were oft-repeated guidelines. But more importantly, in structure. Originally, it was a lot more Tom Clancy Wildlands and almost Just Cuz at times. The core experience was Halo gameplay-wise, but there was a lot of clear X structures in any order to unlock the next campaign mission, and Joe really hated that.
Now, this is something that I could see Joe doing. Again, Joe has been someone who was a massive part of the storytelling for the original Halo trilogy and for Halo 3 or Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. He was a massive part of these stories. Less is more. I could definitely see that, and cutting down things where it could confuse players where they wouldn't understand, like we've had with both Halo 4 and Halo 5. We all know the things that happened with those games. We all know the massive issues that people have with its storytelling and having to check with different sources from different medias to keep up with what's going on in a clear way. Less is more I could definitely see Joe doing this, but at the same time, this again is all speculation and rumor, and we can't verify this. But it does sound like they were trying to simplify it to more of the state of what Halo is good at, which is like you can do open worldness like the original like Halo mission from Halo CE, but it has to be linear to the point that there are set paths and objectives that you have to complete. But let's continue on, unless you want to throw some information in there, Hazab.
No, I think you've got that pretty much covered as far as what we were discussing before.
All right.
Anyway, continuing on, Joe wanted to integrate more of a Halo formula, similar to the Halo, the level in Combat Evolved, where you save the Marines. It's more of a, you can spend time doing all this stuff and a lot of mini events in each structure, or you can rush straight to the objective. There was a lot of arguing over this direction, since many people within the team felt their work could just be rushed through without care. And there was a lot of issues with dynamic triggers, say the player triggering the next campaign event before they were done with all the optional stuff in an area. The map was also not designed for it, with basically these big Forerunner structure gates gating off a lot of sections at the moment to account for campaign stages. It's a little strange. It wouldn't fit the promise of this being the biggest campaign ever either, since players could reasonably rush through it in a few hours if they really wanted to.
Now, this is something that, again, we've all known the history of Halo's development and the things that have happened whenever it's come to people's hard work in Halos 1, 2, 3, all of them, Reach. Sometimes for the betterment of the product, things don't make the cutting room floor. That's unfortunately the sad fact of things. I remember watching the Halo 2 behind the scenes DVD and remember them feeling really upset because their idea, their level, their concept didn't make the finished game because one, they were on a timeline, they were on a time crunch, and unfortunately it didn't fit. It felt unnecessary and they had to work around those constraints. Again, do we all wish that we could get to experience all the lost content that we've ever missed in Halo, whether that was, you know, the original Bungie era games or things that could have happened in Halos 4 and 5? I mean, the rumors around Halos 4 and 5 of the cut content that never saw the light of day is massive. And some of that I would have loved to experience, even though I'm not the biggest fan of those games. But the thing is that many devs know what this feels like. It's unfortunately part of the process. It hurts. Trust me, it hurts. I've seen, you know, grown men cry over their hard work being thrown away and considered not important. It personally hurts. But unfortunately, that's the name of the game. And the game is called Halo. So this does seem to be something that, again, would affect gameplay wise of the campaign and the balance and how the game would play out with again those triggers. I remember watching many Halo development videos and seeing how they would do their triggers during the Halo 3 development with, you know, these walls and everything of, you know, you drive through here, it activates a trigger, these characters spawn on this side of the wall, and that could break easily. I could see that. I could see that as clear as day. If I had that footage, I would right now record that footage and get it in here just for that example. But you know what? Unfortunately, that's not doable because HDCP, and plus that would kind of, yeah. So I'm going to take their word for it on that if this is a real death, but let's continue on.
We achieved some balance by basically making the campaign much more connect the dots, with the objectives being obligatory to a degree, and an optional side structure here and there, and naturally leading the player through a few key encounters before each stage. Power weapons are rarer in campaign, but you can find them in a lot of these side alcoves with a decent max ammo pool to make it work, or to make it count. So there's some incentive there too. Plus some new Forerunner vehicles. The game started to take shape properly in February of this year, Although the concept started last year, you can imagine people were stretched a little thin, but as long as it was just reshuffling content, it was fine. I expect the campaign to be well received, even if some of the side areas will probably be seen as not worth the effort. But people will go for it because Halo. The fun is going after the stuff after all. Some stuff will be left on the cutting room floor due to release date, but we'll make it. TLDR, the campaign had a lot of cut content and needed some massive reworks to work after we switched hard off of Chris and took in Joe's direction for the game, but it mostly uses assets and work we had in 2020 and it's just been shuffled around.
So to me, the way this sounds personally is that there's still a lot of things we don't know about. There's a lot, like even during their video of them showing that that co-op in Forge was not going to be available. There was a weapon in there that we had never seen, that we never heard about, and we just saw a small glimpse of it, and people were already just dissecting that and so on and so forth. And them mentioning Forerunner vehicles sounds interesting, but again, I'm gonna have to wait and see. I won't
jump in just for a moment here. I actually watched Hidden Xperia's coverage of the whole thing, and he actually put a name to it. Apparently the weapon we saw is called the shock rifle. I'm assuming it's a banished weapon, but beyond that, I'm not sure.
Right. And with again, like I was saying, the Forerunner vehicles, again, we're gonna have to wait and see. Like they said, there's a lot of cut content that need a massive rework, and a lot of it just got switched around, which that's the best case scenario for any developer, where instead of it just disappearing and never being seeing the light of day, it just gets moved around so it works better with the overall game, and your vision at least gets the light of day instead of just being no, not necessary, cross it out, throw that piece of paper away, gone
into the incinerator with you.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best case scenario, and it sounds like, honestly, as soon as Joe got in there, if this is all true, he really dug in deep to find out what the hell was going on. And that's like, again, his track record follows when it comes to Halo. At least, like, I can't speak on Destiny because in my opinion, Destiny is a shit show. That's just my opinion. But when it comes to Halo, his track record, he's pretty serious about it. He knows, what to look for, what's important, what's not, and how to reorganize things to make it work. So honestly, this story is becoming a little more credible, but again, I'm not going to say that this is verified, truthful or not.
We'll have to wait and see on that one, see if anyone verifies it.
It'd be nice.
But now, what you care about. And firstly, Forge. Forge is just untenable, and Microsoft always knew it wouldn't be ready for this release date, if ever, and I doubt it'll come even 6 months either. The reality is, Forge just isn't a cute map editor anymore, especially not after 5, and we can't release anything that isn't up to snuff to the quality of that game's Forge, which took more effort than anyone realizes. Infinite's Forge will not only have every feature that 5's had, but a lot of extra resources based on past games and custom game functionality. There's also some grumbling about Forge being released with the game spoiling a few new enemy reveals, but I doubt this is a main concern. In any case, I wouldn't be surprised if Forge came 8 months or even a year after initial release. The team is overworked, pushed hard, and tired.
Now this is a very interesting paragraph. They doubt that Forge will come 6 months after launch. This is very interesting to me, as one thing I will say, and this is the one thing that I've majorly given credit to 343 about from every game that they've taken over, Forge and the sandbox has always been a key feature that has always improved. It's always gotten better. The tools have always gotten better. And that seems to be the case. It's not a simple map editor anymore. It's something much more vast. And especially with Halo 5, which a lot of people have said, even the people that didn't like Halo 5, that map editor is one of the most insane things that they've experienced. It's
And to think it was done without mod tools or anything else that is often used for the extent of creating that sort of stuff.
right, exactly. And again, I really hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case, that it'll be delayed even longer than season 3. But one thing I will say, if it does not come in season 3, we better have some really big notes being shown and told to us when that happens. Because again, they're saying they have to step it up from Halo 5. They have to step it up from Halo 5. They're even saying that kind of in this paragraph. What is it going to have? What are these options? It sounds like it's going to have AI options, if I'm reading this right. I could be.
It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. It could be spoiling enemies. And I'm really interested in seeing what those enemies are. Maybe some enemies that crawl around on the floor and infect people. Maybe rumor, speculation. But I will say that I do hope that, we get it sooner rather than later. Because if not, the content pool for game modes and maps and variants of the maps that we're going to have is going to be very dry for a very long time.
That's assuming that we end up with launch where they don't have a whole lot of new maps or a whole lot of maps to begin with. They could have a whole lot, but
yeah,
like I said, we'll have to wait and see. Now, here we go. This is for co-op and campaign, and I'm just going to preface this with saying, like, if this is true, holy mother of God, no wonder it got delayed for 3 months, at least. For co-op and campaign, the problem is much simpler. To put it bluntly, nobody thought of how it would work. The open world and several different objectives spread around the map that can be completed in any order meant that a bunch of solutions were explored for how this would work in 4-player co-op. The first and obvious one was shackling players together, but even in internal playtesting, this just wasn't fun and was considered incredibly limiting. The idea to free players to go off and do their own stuff was then proposed, which was a great idea and welcome, if not for a few key things. The first was the networking issues, and then the second, and more important, was checkpoints. To be blunt, it's buggy. It's buggy as all hell, and then some. For the first while, respawning worked as it did in the old games. Wait for teammates to be safe, and then come back to life near them. But this caused a lot of painful issues when players were far apart, and was really buggy on the code, so we didn't like it. We then explored a respawn station idea, but this was much too limiting. So we proposed fixed respawn points around the map, a ways away from fighting locations, but that was also both boring, as players had to walk/drive back to the fight, and also made it so it was really hard for the entire team to get wiped, since it ended up being a constant conga of guys running back to respawn, or back from respawn rather. Around March, we decided to swing it back to the original respawn method, and the bugs have been constant.
Let's kind of lean into this first. This, to me, makes sense. It sounds believable because
it's logical from a standpoint of the open world and the checkpoint system, which,
right.
Speaking of checkpoints, weren't we just trying to do the goat roped achievement the other day, and the checkpoints just got fucked repeatedly, and it does this in a lot of games?
Yes, and again, they were also talking about, shackling players together, aka the teleporting system from Halo 1 in a way, I would say. So if one person walks away a little too far, it just pulls them in the direction that the main player wants to go. And again,
that's frustrating even in a linear game like CE.
Right. And again, the one thing I mentioned that they mentioned multiple times throughout this is it wasn't fun. And that's the most important part with any Halo game. It has to be fun first. A lot of these things, a lot of these ideas, if this is a real dev, sound like the ideas of some of the devs that I listened to the development tracks of for Halo 2 and Halo 3. It has to be fun first, then you can make it pretty. Then you can make it this and that and the other thing, but it has to be fun to play first. And again, if it isn't fun, then there's no point. And networking, that's always an issue. That's always been a co-op issue in Halo. No matter what game it's always been a problem with campaign. Halo 5, I will say, had dedicated servers for their co-op campaign. That was the one benefit that their campaign had. And I would hope that Halo Infinite would have the same kind of situation going for it. But again, you're not talking a small linear path that you're just running through, blowing through Prometheans and Covenant. You're talking a open area where you can go anywhere at any time in any direction you want. And not everyone wants to play follow the leader, going from one place to one place to one place to one place. They want to explore at their own pace. Trust me, even whenever you come up with a plan and you talk to your buddies, there's always that one jackass that says, hey guys, I'm going over here. I hear there's fucking weapons over here. You know, like there's always that one guy, and that one guy could fuck up the whole thing. So again, not confirmed, but at the same time, is it believable?
Plausible. Yeah,
plausible.
It sounds plausible. What's also very buggy is checkpoint setting. It's difficult if 4 players in 4 different locations decide to have separate fights, and then to decide when to set a checkpoint. If we wait until all 4 are safe, that's ridiculous, and can lead to long stretches of time when with no safe checkpoint location. As a little internal anecdote here, this happens to me and Gamer all the time when playing co-op. For whatever reason, one player just isn't safe, and there's just one enemy hiding behind a rock that's limiting the checkpoint system severely. It's annoying. Anyway, continuing. If we set one when one is safe, and then that checkpoint can be very harsh on their teammates. You can probably see the problem here. The system wasn't all that well thought out. The current system we have is that the checkpoints are set when one team member, the host, is decisively safe, and everyone else is at least somewhat safe, with a little bit of invulnerability slack given to other players on respawn. Under the new respawn method, the occasions where all 4 get wiped separately are at least somewhat rare, but we do see the issues with this system. Between these two things, the campaign co-op is a mess and downright unplayable, but there's no way in hell we're going to be allowed to delay the launch by the powers that be. Delaying the campaign altogether was severely considered, with a multiplayer-only launch. We even talked about this on stream before, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
But the suits straight up told us no. The game will ship with a paid campaign, come hell or high water, and we can pay it back over time. At the very least, I can guarantee that while there is some crunch going on, it's far from the most inhumane thing I've seen working in the industry, and it's a far cry from something like CDPR's Cyberpunk. Morale is high, even after all this. We think this is going to be a great game, but I do wish we could cook the campaign a little longer. Hope you guys have a good one, and remember that she always believed in you.
Now, again, that thing at the end might be a little wink or nudge to if someone can verify this. Is that a joke towards Cortana, maybe, or Halsey, or I don't know. But
I don't know. Let's stick to the actual meat and
let's
potatoes
stick to the actual thing. The suits. This is something that we speculated on during our live stream, talking about the delay. That Microsoft has the biggest say in this. They're the ones that make the final decision more than anything. And what's that little scenario that you explained to me off stream of dev goes to corporate asshole and says blank? Go ahead and run us through that real quick, because I think that might explain a little bit more of the corporate mindset of where what this guy is trying to explain.
Well, initially I saw it on Twitter, and I can't remember for the life of me who posted it, but I actually read through it, and then I ran it past my stepfather, who's a manager at a store and kind of understands the corporate mindset at least a little bit. Not big CEO status, but the mindset is pretty much the same no matter where you go. It's just a matter of the size of the company. So the scenario is this. You have a below management team working on a project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's more or less done. In this case, it's Halo Infinite. The campaign's pretty much done. Multiplayer is about ready to go. They're just in that sort of shutdown mode that we talked about before, where they're fixing up bugs and getting it all, batten down the hatches. But campaign co-op's not going to make it, and upper management already knows that Forge isn't going to make it, and they're cool with that. But co-op's the sticking point. And the head of the dev team goes to upper management and says, hey, we want to delay this. And upper management says, on what grounds? Why? We can't quite get this one thing working. It's holding us back pretty severely. And the suit sits there and thinks, okay, so how big of a setback is this? Is the game non-functional? Well, no. Is it lacking content? No. Then what's the problem? Just this main feature that everyone's expecting doesn't work? And that's when the suit basically puts his hands on the desk and says, look, if the game's not broken, if it works fine, if it's content complete, it's playable, even if co-op doesn't work, it's as good enough. You're trying to delay it for one alternative feature. Get it out.
And that's, I think, the biggest issue. And that's something that, unfortunately, not many devs can say. Again, I can't verify that this post on Reddit is real or fake. All I can say is rumor, speculation, unverified. Because the thing is that with how we've heard the game industry be in the past 10 years or so,
it can be highly secretive.
Yes.
There's a lot of, like, when it comes to like any dev team, it seems like if it's not some sort of indie project, if there's big corporate suits running around on it, they're not going to let you spill anything. And when you do, if they find out it's you,
right,
there goes your head.
Well, and we saw this same kind of situation, the same kind of cover-up situation happen when some certain information came out after the launch of Halo 5 Guardians. I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to say what it was, because supposedly there were some, big problems with that. But there was some information that stirred a lot of problems with Microsoft, with Xbox, and 343. And that caused a lot of issues in their little circle of people. So this story isn't as unbelievable as people think. Again, are we justified in being frustrated about this? Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that it's 100% justified. I think that a game should come out because the one thing, and I've explained this to Hazop, but my frustration was every time that they mentioned the delay, they always said the game's never complete. It's a live service. That frustrated me because it felt like a crutch. And it is a crutch in a lot of people's eyes because there's a lot of live games as a service done wrong. And this is an example of that becoming a crutch and that becoming an issue whenever that is what they use to justify the delay.
This kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in it because it's not just a crutch. This is, again, if this is real, this is then them confirming that Microsoft's like, yeah, you're getting it out there whether it's done or not.
Yeah.
And this isn't them using it as a crutch. This is Microsoft being like, here's your way out, deal with it.
Right. Well, more so they're saying, here's the truth. You're going to fucking ship the game. It works. We can sell it and you can fix it later. Come up with something. And that's like, it's like working for the mob.
Yeah.
You got protection for a small period of time, but you don't know when they're going to come and break your kneecaps. So
it's like I said before on the video you put out earlier today, Gamer. They probably would love to delay it, but far as it sounds, either from the official source we got earlier or this unverified one, they just straight up can't.
Right. And this is something that we've said privately, and I kind of want to get this across to everyone. People want this game delayed. I want this game delayed so that way it can be content rich and it can be a complete game when it comes out, because it would be nice for a 343 game to come out completely ready at launch. That would be fantastic, right? It'd be great.
Absolutely.
It would be the best case scenario. Here's the problem. Unless people are willing to make the biggest stink in the world, I mean destructive levels of PR, I mean that they can't escape the news and headlines and the videos and the Twitter rants and everything else. Unless Microsoft and Xbox can't escape that, and it really burns their bottom line, and
it would have to go mainstream.
Right.
It would have to go full on mainstream, like the whole Blizzard situation.
Right,
Which,
exactly.
yeah, and unfortunately, I think me and Gamer are in agreement that it's not going to get that hot under their collar.
Right.
Not even close.
Right. This even looking at the like to dislike ratio, it is not moving the needle to the point where they're going to give a shit, where Microsoft is going to be concerned. They are going to see this as just a bunch of little plebs being upset about a small thing. Because to them, it is small. But to the Halo fans that have been a part of this franchise for 20 years, they know what co-op means to them. They know what co-op means to their friends that they're wanting to share this experience with. This is the first Halo game for a lot of people where they're actually excited and wanting to be back involved with Halo. And this is kind of a major wound to them, because there are people that we talked about that treat Halo campaigns like tradition. They treat it like tradition to go through the campaign the first time on Legendary with their buddies, or just go through it on normal, or do it with a parent and play through it because it meant that much to them as a kid. Maybe they're parents now and they're wanting to play Halo for the first time with their kids go up. It's something that is important to people. And one thing I will say is frustrating is that there is a group of people in this, they're acting like it's not a big deal, and that the people that are upset about this shouldn't be. That to me is extremely disrespectful. And another thing is, I've noticed other people upset about Forge. And the one thing I'm gonna say, and this is gonna be a defense of Halo 5, you know what we wouldn't have gotten if it wasn't for Forgers, and if it wasn't for Forge? We would have never gotten big team battle in Halo 5. We would have never gotten, because there's something you may not notice, but when Halo 5's big team battle came out, it wasn't new maps, it wasn't new content, it was forged maps that community members made, from what I remember. Don't take me 100% on that, maybe do a little research and leave it down in the comment section down below for a little more context, but from what I remember, it was the I forget what the project was called. It was a certain group of people that made those maps for that mode when it came out a month or so after the launch of Halo 5 Guardians.
Yeah.
That is the importance of Forge. Game modes work in hand with Forge to make some of the funnest experiences in Halo, to make some of the best experiences in Halo. And to say that those things are not important and that they're not a big deal is doing a big disservice to a lot of people in the community.
Definitely missing the point.
Yeah. So again, all I can say about this whole video and what we just read to you is that this is all rumor. This is all speculation. This dev could or could not be real. I can't verify this. Maybe this is someone who is a really good storyteller and decided to take what leaks they could find and turn them into a beautiful plot for Reddit. Who knows? Who knows? But that's why I'm going to put as many warnings and as many things as I possibly can on this video, because again, this is out of my comfort zone. This is something that I don't do regularly in recording these kind of videos where it's about rumors or speculation or leaks or, you know, unverified developer sources, because they could come back to bite me in the ass just like they could any other YouTuber. But the thing is if this information is true, people will know where to aim their you know, anger towards and their issue with.
Aiming at the suits at Microsoft, that's where.
The suits at Microsoft, the people at Xbox, those are the ones that are majorly behind it. And I'm sure there's some heads at 343 Industries that don't give a shit. I'm sure that there's some devs that are just saying, let's just get it done. I don't care. I'm burnt out. But again, the bigger issue that's been with this franchise for a long time. I'm not just talking, you know, the past 5 years. I'm talking the past 10, if not longer, when Bungie was there all the way back in 2007 when they declared their independence with the first ever official Bungie Day, is that Microsoft seems to be the running issue with a lot of these developers. And I will say, I'm not a fan of Bungie. I haven't been a fan of Bungie since they left Halo and went on to do Destiny. I'm not a fan of their work. I feel like they made a dumb mistake by going and working with Activision, but that's my opinion. And they obviously regret that decision too, since they, you know, what was the last year or so, they left Activision and split. With all this, all I can say is that people want to aim their fire and you know, vitriol and everything towards the developers. And a lot of these developers, I will say, do work hard. I will say that they do work hard. I know that, you know, I'm not a fan of a lot of the community managers, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the community managers. But at the same time, I know that there's a lot of hardworking devs behind the scene. And it sounds like Joe is putting in a lot of work to try and get the ship corrected. But again, don't aim your anger at Joe. He has been there for 1 year, and this game overall has been in development for 6. He is trying to organize it to the best of his ability, and it sounds like, if this is true, he is. So again, take all of this with a grain of salt, do your due diligence, and enjoy our conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like on it. If you didn't, go ahead and leave a dislike on it. If you guys want to see more videos like this, more Halo news topics, or even, you know, maybe a podcast, then let us know down in the comments section down below, because we might have some things cooking for you guys. Thank you all for watching. And as always, GamerJlee and Hazop signing out. Frag